What's up, guys? Welcome back to JB Reviews. I have this beautiful 2026 Chevy Silverado 2500 ZR2, and unfortunately this truck is sold, but they do have a 2026 here available for sale. It's actually used. I think it has like less than 500 miles on it. And I'm here at King Garth Chevrolet here in American Fork, Utah. If you would like to buy a truck, these guys have been super helpful, and I would venture to say just call Caden, see what he can do for you. If you want to order a truck, fly out here to Utah, see some of our beautiful views, go ahead and check them out. But yes, we got to talk about a mistake I almost made buying a lift kit for my AT4X. So my truck is done basically in terms of like my tires and stuff, and you guys haven't seen that yet. So I had to use this truck today. And yes, this truck is in stock form, and I want to show you guys a few things about this suspension, because a lot of people have some misconceptions about the ZR2 and AT4X in the HD segment. So let's go ahead and unpack that really quickly. When I first bought my AT4X HD, I was really expecting the ride to be significantly better compared to like a regular HD truck like that over there, especially like a 3500. But what I found is this truck rode a little stiffer, and I never could understand why, because you guys know these trucks have basically 35-inch tall tires, right? They also have this really nice Multimatic DSSV suspension, and if you've ever driven the half tons or even the mid-sized trucks, the Multimatic does really help with the ride. But then I started looking online. I found some suspension kits out there to see if maybe I can do some upgrades to really help with the ride. And after reading some of the comments on this front suspension, I was shocked to see that GM did not actually lift this truck. And I'll explain what I mean by that here in a second. Now, they did technically level this truck on the front end, and then they added an 1.5 inch block out back, I believe. I think it's like an 1.5 inch block, okay? But you guys will see right here, this lower control arm is going to be sitting in the exact same spot as what you would find on this Chevy Silverado 2500. So let's take a quick peek here. So right there, you guys see that lower control arm sits in the exact same spot as this ZR2, which means GM did not do any upgrades to the framing to accommodate for this extra ride height. And that's the main reason why this truck rides a little stiffer. Now, you have to understand, they did do some upgrades to the upper and lower control arms, including the steer knuckle, simply because they did obviously raise the front end, and they did that with the torsion bars and keys. So this does have updated torsion bars and keys compared to the other trucks. And that's why this truck rides so harsh, because they did not do a different frame mount for the lower control arm to really give it a true lift on the front end here. But the good news is, with this upper control arm, you guys can see this is a little bit angled down because of this extra ride height. So they did make some updates, but it wasn't enough to give this truck a true off-road ride that we wanted on something like this. Now, with that all being said, on the back, they did add a block to get the extra ride height, because this is a factory truck. This truck has to have a little bit of rake, so that way if you are planning to tow a trailer, your truck doesn't squat too much. So you can kind of see it right there. That's gonna be a little different from the other trucks. Let me just get a little bit closer for you. So right there, you can see that block. Let's go ahead and check it out on another truck here. So this is just a regular Trail Boss, which is basically the same as a High Country, LTZ, etc., etc. But you guys can see this truck does not have a block in the rear. So let's go ahead and go online. I want to discuss why I almost made a huge mistake buying the wrong lift kit. Now, last thing I'll mention is this. The way the suspension is set up, you do have accelerated wear. Sorry, it's really cold out right now. But you do have accelerated wear on this suspension. So like your tie rods, your idler arms, your pitman arms, they're gonna wear out a lot quicker because of how GM set up this suspension. Remember this, in order to lift a independent front suspension truck, this has to be upgraded here. Now originally, I wanted to just do a leveling kit on this truck. I will admit, the AT4X and ZR2 have a great stance from the factory. However, if you want to run the taller tires, leveling the truck or lifting it is necessary because you're going to rub in some spots, depending on your offset too. Now, Cognito was my first hit because CJC Off-Road had them on their website, and I've heard of Cognito. A lot of guys out here run Cognito. So I went on their website and I found that they had a super stocked kit for $1,059. Says, holy crap, that's not that bad. So it talks about how it fixes the droop travel issue that you get from this factory suspension, and the truck's gonna ride a little bit better. Now, I figured if I got that kit, I could just turn up the torsion keys, level the truck, and I'd be great. However, I found a video on YouTube where a guy did run the super stock kit, did just that, and the angles of his drive axle and tie rod were so bad that I know his truck rides like trash. So I figured, you know what? I can't do that. So then I found that Cognito had a 2.5 inch lift for this truck. It's $3,000. And I saw on their website, they were looking for trucks like mine to promote this lift kit. So I figured maybe I could just drive out to them, let them put the lift on the truck. You know, if I had to pay something, I'd be okay with that. And then, you know, I would be able to get the lift on a little bit of a discount. But no one ever reached out to me. I put in all my information on their website. I called, nothing. So I figured, wasn't meant to be. Started doing a little bit more research, and I found this guy named Nick Vasquez who has the exact same truck as mine, except he has a different color and he has an AEV edition. With that, his truck was the exact look I was going for. I think the lift actually looks better on these trucks now that I've seen them. But on top of that, I start watching all the videos he's been doing for McGaughys. And he kept mentioning something. So you guys do know, like when you lift the truck, there's this brace, I call it. I'm gonna show it to you right here. I noticed that the holes were not lined up on some of the lift kits. I'm not gonna call anyone out. And he kept mentioning how the McGaughys brace does not change the stance of the front wheels. And as I was looking closer and closer, I'm like, holy crap. He's done so many videos mentioning this, and I didn't catch it the first time, but the second and third video that I watched, I caught it. I'm like, and so then I reached out to him, and he got back to me within like minutes. And so I asked him, I said, so let me get this straight. Some of the lift kits pushes out the front wheels. And he says, yes. And he says, it's typically about 3/8 of an inch that it pushes out. So basically, if you get new wheels and tires, you want that perfect stance. The offsets, like on my wheels, are +19. And they're like perfect, they will be perfectly flush with my fender flares. And that's exactly the look I was going for. He said that it would push it out an additional 3/8 of an inch, which means you probably have to run a spacer out back to match what's going on in the front. So I am super happy that I'm going with McGaughys because the way that they engineered that brace that drops that lower control arm down to the right angles, it does not change the stance of the truck. And that would have absolutely bothered me because now you have to spend more money on, you know, spacers out back. But then on top of that, if you don't want to do that, your front wheels are going to be further out basically than the rear. And that looks, in my opinion, like very stupid. So I am super happy that yes, I am going with McGaughys lift. A lot of you guys have been asking me, are you going with Cognito? Are you going with McGaughys? My recommendation is, it does say on their website 4 inches, but it's not a 4-inch lift because you guys remember, you already have a 2-inch lift from GM. So it's basically a 2-inch lift in total, but 4 inches in total, basically because of the extra 2 inches you get from the ZR2 AT4X lift. But yes, I hope you guys found this video helpful. My goal is to drive out to California and meet with McGaughys and have them install it And Nick Vasquez, I highly recommend you guys go watch his channel. I'll put a video of his at the end of mine here, because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have done anything. I probably would have just said, screw it, I don't have to lift my truck. And I'll just go with a little bit shorter tire. And so, yeah, he basically answered a lot of my questions that I had. And the one question that he answered was in the video, because I kept watching every video he did. And then it got to me that, oh, their holes are evenly matched up, which means there's no change on the wheels up front. And that is exactly what I was looking for. And I didn't even know it at the time. So yes, check out his channel. And hopefully you guys understand too that I know this kit is expensive, but the engineering process that went into this, hopefully when I get to California, they'll explain it to you guys. There's a lot of R&D that went into this kit. There's less cutting on this kit, by the way, too. I looked at the directions for a few lifts out there. They have less cutting on theirs. So yes, this is definitely the one to go for if you are in the market. And if you're wondering, why do I have to lift the truck if it's already lifted? This will fix the harshness up front, number one. But number two, it's gonna reduce the wear of the front suspension component. So hopefully we'll have some install videos of this McGaughys kit. I'm really excited to meet these guys. They've been around for a long time too. So that's another thing about this company, is it's not some new company out there. They know, and they are actually engineers. So when they built these kits, they were built around the fact that they wanted them to be better than the competition. So hope this video was helpful. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. And make sure you check out McGaughys suspension. I think that if you were to go on their website, you'll see really quickly that they have a lot of systems. And on YouTube, you're starting to see McGaughys a lot more so than you have in the past, because their system is truly a game changer on these trucks. And they've done things and engineered it in such a way that it is better than the competition.